Welcome to a brand new podcast. Ian McLean is a writer and the author of TJ's War. David Blair is an actor and the narrator of the audiobook TJ's War. David and Ian have been listening to their readers and listeners and have decided to turn TJ's War into a movie. And since the story covers the entirety of World War II, the movie will cost at least $50 million. Will David and Ian succeed in their quest? Follow them in this podcast series. We're going to make a $50 million movie.
Welcome back, folks, to another We're Going to Make a $50 Million Movie or TV series. The podcast where we dive deep into the creative process behind turning an epic story into an unforgettable visual experience. Last week, we were talking about who we might cast for TJ, and it was so deep and complex we couldn't finish. So we're going to do another episode on that because we've got several actors that could, from both sides of the pond, that might fit TJ's role. So, David, I'm excited about our conversation today.
Absolutely. Let's dive on in and see what else we can find.
So I can say, hey, knock, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Syya, wouldn't want to be ya. We're taking over this episode, aren't we?
We are indeed. People often ask us, obviously, the behind the scenes of each of our podcast episodes. So here is Syya and myself. We're here reacting to this episode and just showing a little bit of our kind of behind the scenes as to how we go through each of these episodes.
They're going to yell at us, aren't they, Quinn?
Oh, they are, but we're doing this.
You know what this is called? Let's title this The Producer's Revenge.
Back to the cast, there's a movie I've got on my list. I sort of, or in my phone, I've got like a running list of like, oh, when I get time, I'm going to watch that movie. And of course, I've got too many movies that I'll never get to all of them. But I just added one the other day. I can't remember the name right now, but it's like a spy comedy. I think spy comedy movie, but but the whole cast, there might have been 10 actors. None of them are like A-list superstars, but let's say 10 of them that I know from something like, oh, she was on Saturday Night Live, or, he did this, like, and they put that many. It was almost an ensemble cast of B-level actors. And I thought, well, if they got that many names that I recognize, I'm going to watch that movie. So I guess quantity at that point. Unless you've got the superstar, it doesn't matter who else is in it, or you can get, 5 to 10 like name recognition actors. You've seen them in something and you liked what they were in.
I agree with Mark. I think obviously we can go two roads with this. We could get a lot of second level actors, but obviously them from TV shows and things like that. Or we could go and get one big name. But obviously, I tend to gravitate a lot more towards seeing a lot of actors that I go, oh, I recognize them from that, rather than a lot of unknowns and then one very popular one. So I think he has a really fair point there. Like, you don't have to just shove, Tom Hanks or someone in it and then absolutely tons of actors that no one's ever known. You could do a lot of ones that you go, okay, they had a little scene in Westworld. That person was in Game of Thrones. Oh my God, that person was on Casualty. And you can work your way along. Actually, all of those names will make it into a really interesting project instead of just one big name.
I 100% agree. I think actually the palette of today's consumer for movies is a multi-cast. Like, what was that word that they were using? Ensemble. When you have an ensemble cast, I think there is more depth to each person to shine. I think that's why all the Marvel movies are doing so well. Sure, there's an Iron Man, but it ain't just Iron Man. And as good as Robert Downey Jr. is, there's a huge ensemble underneath it, right? Like behind him. So
but then Robert Downey Jr. wasn't very popular when he was in Iron Man. That was his because he had all the controversy about obviously the drugs and things like that beforehand. And then it was like, here's Iron Man. All we've cast is Robert Downey Jr. in it. And now he's like one of the biggest names in cinema, coming from this just, kind of washed up actor.
100%. Look at Game of Thrones, right?
Oh, yeah,
Look
100%.
at Westworld. I mean, geez, look at Bridgerton. Okay, look, people's.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts on the casting on Bridgerton too, but uh, woo. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about the making your money go further, your budget go further. Because let's be honest, we all know this. We said $50 million tongue in cheek. Okay,
Hmm.
if you want to get an A-list Tom Hanks, he alone is 50 million, right? Unless you give him like 2 million plus 90% royalties on whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I do believe Mark has a point, and I do think TJ's War is an ensemble movie. I don't think it's the TJ show, though it is of course a story of him, but it's all the supporting characters, the adventures he goes through, that's going to make this movie or TV
Absolutely.
show.
100%.
Yeah, and if it's actor, whoever, like let's say, I don't know why I keep thinking of him, but going back to someone like Damien Lewis,
Mhm.
Pretty big name, but not Tom Hanks level.
Right.
And I don't think he's done any movies. But anyway, if we were just to go with him, he might take this level role in a. He would say take the lead in a TV series, and has done. If you're talking about a gigantic Hollywood production, he's not going to be the lead. There's another level of actor for that. He would play
Right.
a decent supporting role, perhaps, in a massive Hollywood production. So levels of project, the actors will do different things in those. So I guess we it depends on what funding we ultimately get, how it gets produced,
50 million?
as to what level they're fitting into.
Sure.
Yeah, might be 50 million. Yeah.
How would describe for the listener, the viewer who hasn't read the book yet, the love interest, the lead female character.
Liz. I mean, there's quite a few people. I had Claire Foy in mind for Liz.
I mean, I think it's a really good kind of suggestion from David there, to be honest. I imagine her maybe a little bit younger, but obviously that kind of look, that kind of actress would work quite well for Liz, I believe.
I agree. Well, how old is Claire Foy?
Oh gosh. Let's have a quick
What,
look.
she's in her 20s?
I've just insulted her. No, she's 40.
Okay. She's 40?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay, I thought she
16th
was
of
in her
April,
30s.
1984. Yeah.
Son of a secret.
I mean,
time
I
flies.
thought maybe like mid to late 30s. I didn't think 40, but I guess late 30s are still 40, if you want to be positive.
She needs to be
Let's see if-
feisty and strong, and but playful, with a kind of the chemistry between them has to be. I mean, obviously, if you're casting two people as a couple or lovers or whatever, ideally you want them to have chemistry, because it enables
it can
for the two
make or
actors.
break. It can make or break
Exactly.
a movie. I mean, when that
But
chemistry's not there,
that
it
playfulness
just
they
sort
have
of,
between them, I think, is quite important. So if the two actors could have chemistry, that would be perfect.
Right? Well, I think chemistry is so critical, even as we're producing these types of podcasts and shows, right? Having the rapport between the guests and host and co-host, right? It's got to be there. Otherwise, I mean, come on, it's about as exciting as going to the dentist, right?
100%.
And how many movies have like failed, or TV shows have failed because the two leads suck? Hi, Aquaman. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
so
I was thinking the Avatar, The Last Airbender movie that came out when I was a kid, and that was, all the characters felt like they were just being like fed their lines each time. And like, I absolutely loved the animated show when I was a kid. That movie came out, I went to go see it, and I've never been more disappointed in my life. And it was like there was no chemistry on screen. None of the characters seemed to have any clue what they were doing, and it ruined it. So it's like you really have to get the chemistry between the characters and the way that they act perfect. Otherwise, you are just going to sit on a flop.
yeah. I mean, well, first off, Last Airbender, it's a cult, right? Like the community is a cult.
Yeah.
The actors clearly were not fans. Like if you
No.
knew the story, Aang is gonna go down his hero's journey, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And and well, there's all sorts of controversy, which is, I don't know if you guys heard it in the UK, but the whitewashing and, you know,
Yeah, yeah, we
Hollywood be
definitely did.
Hollywood, but it's a quintessentially Asian freaking flick, and they just totally.
Yeah, and then got the main character's name completely wrong as well. So it's like we need to be very, while I understand everyone is very keen to get this movie made, we are, very excited for that kind of process. We still need to ensure that we don't lose the spirit of the book by like suddenly calling TJ Tj or something for the entire movie, or like something nonsense
Billy.
like that. Yeah, exactly. We can't rename him, like, and it's things like that where obviously, Aang spent the entire movie being called Ong, and it's like it completely lost it, and it takes you out of it. So we've got this book with this feeling that and the emotion that goes behind it, but will be completely undermined if the chemistry's not there, or it's robotic, or everyone feels like they're just reading off a script, and absolutely.
Well, just to add on that is much like us as a team behind the scenes, if we're just doing like rote memory work to just take out the ums and ahs and all that good stuff, it wouldn't make the production of this any fun for anyone. So I shout out Quinn, love working with you.
Absolutely. I love working with everyone that we work with, which is obviously what makes this so fun.
Yeah, I was thinking of Claire Foy, but she might be a bit old now. I'm not sure.
See, he was thinking it as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, he
we're not
was.
we're not the only ones.
But I think that kind of twinkle in the eye.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that
Well,
the girls, women in the Second World War did all sorts of things, from being spies, working in factories, all sorts of operations that, and this is 80 years ago, all sorts of operations that at the time were, they were perfectly capable of, but it was unusual
yeah, right.
societally.
Predominantly a male
It,
role.
exactly. But
Right.
it was a time of needs must. So it needs to be someone that we believe is capable of that stuff.
We could also discuss other movies that had casting that made the movie. Sometimes the cast makes the movie.
Yeah.
And that's how important it can be. So sometimes you can watch a movie and you're like, that was a great movie, but you know who would have been better in that role? So and so or whatever. But then sometimes you can watch a movie and you're like, man, that was just such a great cast. I could have just watched them for 5 hours or whatever.
I get that with The Dark Knight. Honestly, I could watch an entire movie with just Heath Ledger playing the Joker. The Batman doesn't even need to be in it. Like, let's have a whole movie of just that. And it's a perfect example of, I don't think that movie would have been anywhere near as highly acclaimed as it has been if it wasn't for that casting. And they could have had anyone playing Batman in that movie. I genuinely believe that Heath Ledger made that movie, and it kind of goes to show what Mark's saying.
Again, if you have an actor that understands the material, understands why, I'm not saying go method, but if they do understand a little bit of why of this situation of whatever they're portraying, right? Understand that you're in a World War II flick. You're not in a, Pee Wee Herman's, big adventure movie. There's a big difference of how you act,
100%.
The last person that I saw like that was Bubs from The Wire. Have you seen The Wire?
I have, literally it was 20 years ago, I think.
Bubs was like the drug addicted informant. But honestly, it's really hard to see him as anything other than that. He does it so well. The casting really made. Yeah, it's just a fantastic bit of acting. Okay, so there was a show here that was made relatively recently called One Day, and it's based on a book that was a very popular book of the same name, much loved, and a lot of people said, oh, when they made it into a TV series, kind of half yay and half, oh my God, don't mess it up, because I love that book. And I think it was pretty well received. Well, it doesn't matter what it's about, but the main guy in that is a chap called Leo Woodall.
See, I think that's actually a really interesting kind of look from him. I wasn't 100% behind the idea. He's an English actor. I think he's obviously coming out, he's kind of recently on the scene. I mean, it's definitely a look. You could definitely see him quite haggard and obviously a bit of an alcoholic towards the later things. I mean, you could definitely age him up quite well. And obviously add that kind of experience and everything to him. And you could start with like fresh-faced, off to university, and then work this actor. And he does kind of, and I don't want it to be quite impolite, but he does kind of have a look on his eyes where he could play quite a dead-eyed, like, a lot of things have gone wrong. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's stunning. His eyes, I could absolutely see the dead-eye look. And yes, I could see where we could find another actor in his 40s that ages him up, right? So I could see where was it Damian Lewis? I think he said the actor's name. I'm so bad with actors' names, but I could see where it'd be a progression, much like The Crown, right?
But you could do a lot with this actor before you even needed to get an older actor in later on. I mean, like,
yeah.
I could see this one being one that we cast from like episode 1 or minute 1 all the way through to the point where we do need an older actor.
I could see that. I can see. I mean, he still looks. I mean, his skin's amazing, but and it looks like based on his shoulders and neck, he's got a good build on him. So 100%, I could see. Now, why are you trying to make me crush on TJ now?
Who you may or may not be seeing a picture of on your screens now. He's English, I think, but I'm sure could do. We'll assume that he can do a fantastic Scottish accent. But he has, for me, he has an interesting mix of being a little bit distant, a bit like he's not bothered, but actually there are other scenes when he really does care deeply, but a possible, a possible choice. 27, so I think for me at the outer reaches of age possibility.
I would not have even said that man was 27. He is like 2 years younger than me, and he looks like 10 years younger than me.
Honey, I checked him out, and I could have birthed him. So let's not go down that path.
But he does have a look in his eye that could certainly do the latter end of TJ. The battle-weary, disillusioned, alcoholic TJ.
Yeah, that is the thing, that you've got to have someone that can take the character from the beginning to who he is at the end.
Yeah, and if we don't believe that second half, I think that for me is almost more important. His desolation and the amount that he gets destroyed internally. I mean, ultimately, obviously, we need someone that can portray the greatest arc.
Right.
But for me, it would be more important to get someone perhaps that's more at the latter end of the story and age them down and get them to act innocent and with a bit of makeup and whatnot. They can act younger than it will be to get someone young and then age them up.
I think you need to have someone that's kind of like mid, right? Like, again, there's this picture from World War II of a Russian soldier that showed him before the war and after the war. That poor kid was, it's like a 2-year change, but that boy aged easily 10 years. I mean, 20 years in that 2-year time frame. And so I think if good makeup, and I hate to use the word CGI if you need to, but enough to transition. Like I said, you could have two actors, one in the earlier years, and then you start makeuping the younger actor, and then have him morph into, the TJ that's the alcoholic.
So you could start with makeup making them look a lot younger, but then take them more to the level that they're at now as like the more neutral zone, and then take them. Oh yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
You can go both ways with them, right? You just need to find actors that look close enough alike. And truthfully, that young man, though gorgeous, I'm positive you can find plenty of other older actors or whatever that would, you could find doppelgangers everywhere.
Absolutely.
And because the worst thing that we want is
that's easier
will
though,
be
right?
someone that's sort of playing an alcoholic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But like in terms of Hollywood, ability to, it's easier to make someone appear older than I mean, you're very limited on making someone. Well, I say that,
I think you're
but
right.
I know we're all wary of using CGI, but now, well, I think it might have been Harrison Ford in this last Indiana Jones movie.
They aged him way back down.
Yeah, and
didn't Scorsese do it as well?
No,
with De Niro,
I would have known
in The Irishman, or one of those.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yes. I thought you meant.
And for me,
Scorsese
it did not work.
Indiana Jones.
I thought it was awful.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When
it
they
was just
aged
the whole time
Harrison
I was
Ford
thinking.
Down,
I didn't
that's
buy
because
it.
well, that's the thing. That character. You know that person, and it's hard. Like it's I have seen Harrison Ford movies all my life. Like, I mean, so I can see him as a kid back in American Graffiti, and before he was even Han Solo, and then you see him now. I mean, I hope Harrison's not listening to this. I hope he's not offended, but he's a weathered old man now. Like, I mean, his face is a bag of wrinkles, and
personally, I really hope he is listening right now. I mean, it will definitely help the cause if he gets behind it.
There's nothing that's going to bring an 80-year-old actor out of retirement than to be insulted, to be called a bag of skin or skin of wrinkles, bag of wrinkles. Oh my God, Mark, that's hilarious. Tell us how you really feel.
I'm sure his ego can handle it, but but when he in that movie, I think they aged him down for a scene or something, some kind of flashback thing or something, and I thought it was spectacular how they did it. I'm like, wow, that actually does look like Harrison Ford back when I knew him in the first Indiana Jones or whatever it was. So, but I think that's harder to pull off. I think it's easier to just take a younger person and just make them look older.
Yeah, we'll have to balance the kind of makeup department and all of that with the chops of the actor.
Right there.
1207.
If you can make a man look like a woman and like a very passable woman, makeup department can do anything. Okay.
Yeah, true.
When you can put a man that looks like Mark and look prettier than a female, yeah, okay, makeup can do anything.
Yeah, and I think obviously we want to be putting a lot of our effort into the makeup departments rather than going down the road of CGI. I think doing practical a lot more than digital. I mean, I've seen movies where practical effects have looked more realistic and more real than CGI. So obviously, I think with a movie we want to feel as real as this one. We don't want a moment where anyone is watching it and going, "Ugh, this doesn't look real," because obviously we want them to go on that. If it's a movie or if it's a TV show, it doesn't matter either way. But whichever way we do it, we need them to be kind of stuck in the movie. We don't want to suddenly be pulled out of it by a bit of like dodgy CGI or something that just makes them go, "Oh, I don't know." And I think we'll get a better result by practical makeup than we will do by CGIing them any day.
100% agree. And think about it. This is World War II, you guys. This is another time when we didn't have plastic surgery. So faces are meant to be imperfect.
And everyone was filthy. And like, you've got that kind of, any photo you see of people in World War II, they're like grubby and grime and that kind of stuff. And it's like, you just want that natural kind of
patina of like life, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. The only other one I had was a chap called Jack Lowden, Loudon.
I'm just going to pause right now, and my first impressions is genuinely, he looks like what I imagined. He looks like a younger kind of Ian, but not exactly. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
He's a handsome lad. You know what? For a Scottish boy, right? I can see that, and there's a masculinity about him.
Hmm.
He does have the eyes where I could sense like if he has to furrow it,
Yeah.
and maybe because this picture that you chose here, uh, I could see you aging him with a beard, right? Like if you shave that beard, I guarantee you he has a baby face.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could
And then
be.
you could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got quite. I don't know. Does he have quite a round? I don't know. He just kind of has that shape, that kind of look to him that you kind of like, knowing obviously Ian, you kind of envisage a very young TJ to. I don't know.
He does. I think actually I do. Okay, it's the other one. I think has like haunting eyes, which because you do gravitate towards his eyes. This particular actor, I would say, I could see he's like what's that? The everything actor. I'm not saying he doesn't have a distinctive look, but he fits enough where I think he could mask a lot.
Okay.
Not mask a lot. What do I want to say? I believe he can be melded into a leading man, to a sidekick, to a whatever. He's kind of got that. I don't want to call him a common face. No one wants to be told they have a common face, But I do think he has something. I think, and he also does remind me of Ian.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now that's familiar.
Lowden, I think. He was in a big show here called Slow Horses, and he's done other stuff. He is kind of old. He's 34.
He's 34.
He's 34. Damn it.
What?
Hey, good job. Everyone's aging well. Good job, everyone.
Yeah, like fine wine.
Married to Saoirse, or at least it was partnered with Saoirse Ronan. He is Scottish.
Mark breaking out the reading glasses.
Okay, Grandpa. Look, sometimes, our eyes get tired. Okay, I just want you to know, everyone that ever thinks about doing podcasting and whatnot, do what is comfortable for you, because the last thing you want to do is not wear glasses and then you're jumping up and staring at the screen looking like this. You know what I mean? No one ever wants that.
He's been around for a while. He could certainly. He's got the CV. Possibly a bit old, but in a funny way, I don't think he looks any older than Leo Woodall.
Yeah, while we were talking, I found a site, and you might be more familiar with these actors than I am. But did you mention before James McAvoy?
Yeah, I think James McAvoy is way too old. Isn't he like 50?
I would never say no to a James McAvoy production of anything. I don't care what you people say.
Okay, no worries.
He can age younger. I don't care. He's good. I approve. Approvado.
I didn't know. I think he would be too old, but he's a great actor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks young, but he's here. But I'm looking at him on another screen, and he looks young here, but he's in line with Gerard Butler, Ewan McGregor, Alan Cumming. He's in a line of all these really old people, so it's like he looks younger there. But his resume is right up there.
Yes, I wonder who he could play, because he's kind of middle-aged now.
He's got a young face, I can tell you that. But
he does.
All right. Oh, Thomas Daltrey, the guy I mentioned before, I can totally see it. I'm seeing him now. Before I was researching by names only, and that was like the second actor I had mentioned. That's after I put in all my filters. Like, okay, I need a young Scottish guy, who could play a war person. and he came up as the second one, and I can totally see him in that role.
What's his name?
Thomas Daltrey, Doherty.
I don't see this one.
Yeah. Oh, did he say Daughtry? It's Doherty.
Yeah.
And no.
I don't see him at all. I think maybe a different part, maybe a different role, but
I could see him in being that one character that ended up dying. I probably shouldn't
spoilers.
say that. Wait, stop. You can keep it out. Okay. No, yeah, there's one
we'll
character
keep it because that's hilarious.
There's a character in the book that, of course, there's going to be characters dying. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but
it's World War II.
It is World War II, right? I can see him being one of the supporting guys. He recollects he has a tragic story face. He has a tragedy end face.
He looks really confident. He looks like one of those characters that can play a really confident but like tragic character. One that everyone's like, oh my god, he's my favorite character. And then there's like a moment at the end where you're like, oh.
I know exactly. I know exactly what character he is. I'm not going to name names. We'll do it after, but I know exactly who he should play.
I feel like just by what you said, I know who that should be. But we're not going to give spoilers, so we'll, read the book.
Read the book.
Or watch the movie when it comes out.
Yes, please watch the movie and see him.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I can see him haggard, and battling alcoholism later on. I can see him like young and on the battlefield at one point, and I can see him play the entire span. I haven't seen him act, so I don't know what his skill set is.
He does. Does he have a slight bit of McClane about him? Just the shape of his face, the roundness of it.
Yeah, that's what. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's in contention. Definitely.
Right, we'll put a little star by him. Chris Pratt.
So we've done. Mark.
Okay.
We've done one and a bit characters. This is going to be multi-episodic, I think.
Well, we've done 2 episodes now, trying to pin down who's going to play TJ. I think that might be enough. I think in the next episode we start laying down some of the other characters, the female lead, and but we were off to a good start. I like
absolutely.
What we've done.
There's plenty to talk about before we even thought about directors. Ooh, this could get very divisive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the style of the piece. But yeah, no, definitely. Right. We've done 2, but I think there's plenty more.
Absolutely.
Just on casting alone. Yeah. But it's been fun. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Till next time.
So that was obviously a really interesting conversation from Mark and David. And obviously, if you also like this kind of style of video,
if you like our inputs occasionally, we're happy to add our input.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the style of this video, our inputs, and obviously enjoy this director's commentary, then subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on this episode, the actors that have been proposed, and who do you think should be certain characters in the book. Let us know your thoughts, and we will see you. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com. And to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. To accompany us on our journey, please subscribe to this podcast because we're going to make a $50 million movie.